I just hired a burglar to break into my vault and steal this priceless Lego minifigure. But what he doesn't know is that I've spent the last 3 weeks designing a Lego vault with a combination lock, 4-digit keypad, fingerprint identification, and even an electrified handle. Not to mention, it's theoretically unbreakable. Which is why I hired him. But before our burglar arrives to actually try and break in, let me show you how we got here. The plan is to build a 3-foot tall, unbreakable Lego vault out of a weak plastic material that's made to be taken apart. How hard can it be? The problem is, if we just build a Lego box using the technique of overlapping the pieces, it's all too easy for our burglar to just come in and start taking it apart from the top. Not to mention, with a strong enough blow, you can just break right through. So to create the strongest box we can, we're gonna have to think outside the box. This is Lego Technic. It uses these little pins to create really strong connections between the pieces. And since it fits into our Lego system, we should be able to use it inside the walls to add extra stability, combining both to create a really strong force. Wow, that's pretty strong. And that'll hopefully lock everything together so our burglar can't just take it apart. But first, we're gonna need a strong foundation to connect everything. So we need to start by figuring out the base. My thought for this is we sandwich 2 layers of Technic bricks in between 4 layers of plates. That way it'll be extremely strong, and we'll also add some holes to the sides so we can connect it to the platform in our vault so it can't be lifted up and moved. And the reason I'm going to do that is because a few years ago, I hired a burglar to break into my Lego security system. And not only did he beat it, he walked straight through a laser grid, bear traps, a tripwire alarm, and a working turret, picked up my entire Lego safe, and walked right back out. So this time, I'm going all out to try and prove that with enough Lego and some good old-fashioned ingenuity, you can keep even the toughest burglar from getting away with your valuables. At least that's the plan. All right, now with 2 layers of plates, as you can see, that's really sturdy. If we just put in a few of these short little pins, then as you can see, we have the blue ones down there that line up with these guys here. So all we need is one of these 3 long Technic lift arms, and we can shove that right on there to lock those together. And now those layers are basically inseparable. And since we have a lot of those pins on the bottom floor, we can just do that all over this thing to really strengthen it up. As you can see, this thing's pretty strong. Now, we just gotta put a layer of plates on the top of it. In doing some research, I've discovered this illegal technique called parts trapping. And occasionally, Lego has actually released sets with smaller sub-assemblies that literally can't be taken apart. Like this example, if we push these 2 pieces in like this, and then throw our axle in, unless you have tweezers or something, there's no way to get these pieces apart, and it'll be stuck like this forever. And I actually sort of did this when I was designing this base here, just by placing a 2x4 brick inside a larger Technic brick. Unless you remove the 2x4, there's no way of getting those pins out. So to utilize this to our advantage, we want to build the entire vault like a trapping mechanism. That way, the only way to take it apart will be by opening the door and taking out the pins from the inside. So let's say for the walls we do this. We start off with a Technic brick, across like this. Then on the front side, to block that off so you can't see it, we'll add a layer of gray. And then from there, we'll go up 4 layers of bricks because that's the exact distance we need between the Technic bricks to be able to lock them together vertically. And then on top of that, we'll put another Technic brick, like so. And theoretically, if we keep repeating this up the wall, we can take some of these hefty pins here, lock them in, and then press a Technic brick on the side like that. And this locks together all of our layers of bricks, but look at that. Look at how strong that connection is between these 2 bricks, locking everything together vertical, so you shouldn't be able to take it apart. And now this guy should be able to go around the edge of our safe, just like that. As you can see, this is what we got now. We're gonna leave space for a door in the front. I really hope this thing actually works. As you can see here, it is really coming along. We have this nice pattern on the outside, and hopefully having these 4x4 bars all around it will help lock it together all the way to the top. And you can kind of see how I'm building it on the inside here. All these Technic bricks just line up perfectly with the bricks I'm building into the wall, which is perfect because then if we take some of our fancy little Technic pins here, this guy just pushes right into there. It's taking a while, my fingers are starting to hurt, but so far I'm very encouraged. I think this thing's gonna be really, really strong. This is what we have so far. As you can see, I've also decided to add these little stylistic multicolored bricks into the side, and since those bricks are only 1 stud wide, I've inset them into the wall to kind of give it some depth and make it look like cracking into like a Lego safe. This thing is extremely strong so far. Check this out. I'm really pulling and that's not coming apart. This technique's working really good. However, I have noticed that the walls, as you can see here, if I push on these, they're bending in quite a bit, and that's not good. I'm thinking what we might end up doing is just building another layer of bricks on the inside of these Technic bricks. And if we do that all the way around, make it 4 studs wide, that'll be super thick, and that'll keep these walls from being able to punch in. I'm gonna keep building this up a little bit, and as we go, we'll add that second layer to the inside to make it extremely strong. I'm just doing some rough prototyping here, and as you can see, this is what the door will look like. I've connected some of these Lego lift arms together in such a way where we can connect them between bricks because there's studs on top and receptacles on the bottom. And then if we create a little assembly like this, we can simply press that in place and lock it together with another plate, giving us a thickness of 2 bricks and 2 plates. And then if we do the opposite in the wall right here, technically this should just slot into place like that. The thing is, we now have to create something to seal this gap. And then we cover it with something, which in our case, this will go all the way up. They theoretically won't be able to lift it to take it out because there won't be that space there. I'm just trying to figure out how big a gap we have to have between each of the hinges so that we have enough room to slide it into place and press it down before we seal it off with the top of the wall. Now this guy goes right here, snaps into place, and then we can easily lift it out to install the door. So now we basically just take this out and we repeat this pattern all the way up to the ceiling. So now that we figured out the hinges, we can finally continue building this up. This is going really well. I hope nothing bad happens. Now we gotta snap all these in. Well, it's the end of the day. As you can see, I got pretty far on this. My fingers are super tired, but we figured out the hinge for the side. So I built a bunch of these little sections to basically stack so our door is gonna be 70 bricks tall and 40 studs wide. And I calculated that using our fancy little stud measure tool here. That makes it super easy. So my plan is hopefully tomorrow have the walls completely done, built all the way up to the top. Once we finish that, we just have to figure out the door and all the mechanics that are gonna make this thing actually safe. This vault should be able to protect all my valuables. Speaking of valuables, let me tell you about this video sponsor, Monarch Money. I'll be honest, I didn't fully realize where all my money was going until Monarch showed me. Monarch is a private ad-free app that automatically tracks where all your money goes, all in one easy-to-use platform. Now I can see how much I've earned, how much I have left to spend, and how much I've already spent. And I can categorize everything into my budget to see where all my money's going. Like how much money I spent building this protective case that's gonna keep Mr. Gold safe inside the vault. And I borrowed this, so we need to really protect this guy. I really like that it puts everything in one place from all the different banking institutions I have. So instead of bouncing between different logins and apps or having to do math in my head, Monarch will show me the full picture of my finances without having to check my piggy bank all the time. I've been using Monarch Money since before they reached out, about 5 or 6 months, and it's just made my finances so much easier, so much more straightforward to look at everything. So that's why I'm highly recommending it to you guys. Also, I love that if I don't spend my full Lego budget this month, Monarch actually rolls it over. So next month, I know exactly how much Lego money I've unlocked, so to speak. And it's not just a mobile app, Monarch also works on desktop. I can even look back and check my spending habits from the previous months, so I know how to better manage my finances moving forward. So if you guys want to start managing your finances like a pro, click the link down in the description and use code BRICK50 to get 50% off your first year with Monarch. Now back to building our vault. It's actually a lot harder than I thought it would be. I ended up accidentally getting a little ahead of myself and locking in some things before I should have. I actually ended up setting myself back 2.5 hours. This is our lid that's going to slot on top of our build. We just need to install a bunch of these Technic bricks up in here in the top of this guy. That way it'll be ready to just set on top and we can put our pins in to connect it to the walls. All right guys, here's what we got. I've just dry fit the roof, and as you can see, this thing just snaps in with little pins here. That is a decent sized safe right there. If you look at that next to me, this thing's quite big. The exterior of our vault is finished, and all we have to do is build the door and install it with all the locking mechanics that's gonna make this thing actually a functional vault. All right, check out my little door mechanism. As you can see, it's just this guy here, and when you put that into place, you can lock it in like this, and it drops down, allowing you to turn it this way. But then it doesn't lift up, so you literally can't take the door off unless it's open, which is positively perfect. That should be real strong. So as you can see, we have the walls built up on the vault, and the interior is filled with these Technic beams, which are really reinforced. Now, I really thought that would be enough because, you know, it's pretty strong as it is. You can't pull it apart. But upon further testing, we have a bit of a problem. We take this here club. If we strike the side of our safe, it's pretty strong until you come around this way. And you can see these things are just popping out from the Technic holes, which is not really ideal at all. We want those to stay in because that's the only thing holding the walls together. Yeah, it's not good. An easy way to fix this is just to build another layer of 2x4s all the way up to the top on the inside of this to keep those in so that they don't fall out. An ideation that is really simple. It's just going to take like 9 years. Now that we've got the walls for the vault built up, we need to get the dimensions for the door so we can build all the mechanics into it. So if we grab our fancy Lego measuring tool, we can get the width, which is 40 studs. You can get our height here, which is 64 bricks. To make our unbreakable vault as safe as possible, we're gonna use 4 factors of authentication. Or to think of it another way, 4 different mechanical puzzles that will have to be solved in order for the deadbolt on the door to be pulled to open the safe. And if you miss any one of these, it won't open. Starting with our first factor of authentication, the combination lock. Except we're not gonna be building just any combination lock because ours is gonna use lasers. Here's my plan for this one. If you take a basic combination lock, it essentially has two distinct details that make it work. The first thing is a disc with a gate, which is essentially a gap that rotates, so it has to be aligned perfectly in order for the second part, which is like a slide, to slide into place, allowing you to unlock whatever it is. So if we built up a few of these right here and attach them to this little model, you can see if any of these is off by just a little bit, the gate doesn't close. And so this is essentially a 3-digit combination that you have to solve without being able to see it. Except for us, instead of having a mechanical thing that allows the deadbolt to slide open, we're gonna use our EV3 color sensor to send a signal to the door only if our laser can make it through all these gaps and touch it on the other side. But since I wanna make this as hard as possible, we wanna make sure these gaps are really, really slim. And since this will be mounted in the door, we also need to mount some sort of control from the outside of the safe that'll allow you to turn these without being able to see where the gaps are. We just need like a Lego tire with some holes in it, and then we can block off all the ones we don't want to use. And the smaller the hole is, the harder it'll be to crack because you'll have to get it just right to line up. Check it out. I found a piece that solves both our problems. A, it's a gear, so we can spin it from above with another gear. And B, it has holes. So now all we gotta do is just cover our holes. Boom, and now we're left with one hole right there. We just gotta duplicate this 2 more times and turn it into a real mechanism. Now this looks a lot better. As you can see, get a little fog here, check this out. We can open the first gate here, which is gonna shine through that little hole, and there you go. Then we can open the second gate, just like that. And finally the third gate, which will put it right inside this sensor right here. And that will allow us to unlock our combination safe, allowing us to pass through one more gate in the code to finally get the vault door to unlock. And then we just gotta build around each one of these discs so you can still access them and put some sort of sticker system on it so that you can actually put in a code. For the next security gate, I wanna build a 4-digit keypad. So my plan is to use these little button sensors and stick on a little button we built out of bricks like this, and it'll know which one you're pushing based on the color. So we just need to build a casing for 4 of these buttons that can be inset into the vault wall. That way you won't be able to just pull them off. And that should be pretty easy using some bricks and plates to get the right shape around the buttons. So then we just gotta attach our button sensors to the back here and lock it together with a couple lift arms like this. And that should hold it in place and give us enough space so that we can actually press that button sensor like so. So now we just have to figure out how to code this, and for that I'm gonna enlist the help of my good friend Sten from Creative Mindstorms, who has a ton of experience coding Mindstorms, and he's got a bunch of cool Lego projects on his channel. Like this mind-controlled Lego robot, or a robot that can even solve puzzles. How does he come up with this stuff? Check out his channel, Creative Mindstorms. He's got some amazing Lego creations on there. He's one of the smartest people I know, and within a few days, he had a perfectly working code back to me. So this pin is actually gonna have 4 digits in it, which isn't extremely safe, but having 4 distinct digits like this is a lot safer than 2 or 3 buttons. And the reason is, for every digit you add to your final pin code, you essentially multiply the number of possible combinations by the amount of buttons you have. So if we have, say, a 4-digit pin code with only 2 different colors to work with, we can lay out all the possible combinations like this. But if we add another, or even 2 more, which gives us 4 different colors to choose from, we just multiply our number of colors to the power of our digits in the code. And 4 to the 4th power is 256, which is a lot of possible combinations. If we want to make this an 8-digit code with the same 4 colors, it would be even more. Approximately 65,536. So we're just gonna stick to 4, I think that's safe enough. This is a working fingerprint reader, and I made it using what's called an Arduino. And whereas our Lego Mindstorms EV3 is able to connect to the motors and stuff, Lego doesn't make a fingerprint reader, so we have to use this. Basically how this works is you plug in your battery, and it turns on. You can see we have our fingerprint reader here. And this thing just continually flashes because it's scanning looking for a finger. So for example, if I use my middle finger here, nothing happens, it just blinks. And I've hooked it up to this LED so it'll light up when I actually scan the right finger. So when I scan my thumb, as you can see, the blue light turns on. The tricky part is getting this into the EV3 so that we can actually pick up a signal. So what I've decided to do is connect this Lego color sensor to a few Technic pieces, and then we can take this little light here and shine it directly into the lens, as you can see like that. So now when I put the correct finger on the scanner, this thing will give us a reading on our EV3. And this senses that blue is being shown in this little light here. So now what we have is if we take this, and you can see we're sensing number 2, which is whatever color that is in the Lego library. And we want this to turn to 0. So we're basically putting a signal into the EV3 using this guy. And as you see, that switches to 0, the light turns on, and we're good to go. Which means we can use this as one of our security measures in the safe door, and should make it just a little harder for our burglar to open the door. We just have to do a little bit of wire management here, and find a way to store this inside the safe. And then we need 2 deadbolts that all these mechanisms are gonna trigger to actually open the door. So for that, this is the mechanism I've been workshopping. As you can see, we have a gear rack on top of this little slidey thing so we can slide in and out and block the door from opening. So I've revised that to look like this, which just has a few of those gears on there. And then I've installed that inside of here, connected to this motor. So that way, when we push our little button here, you can see it opens and closes. And if you look from the front side, that's just going to stick out into the wall and make it so you can't open the door. Until you solve all the puzzles and open the gates, which will tell the code to actually move those motors and do that. And we're gonna have 2 of those in this door here. Now that we have that, the next thing we need to do is build a handle for the front of the safe. And while the handle won't actually turn to unlock the mechanism, it is going to have a secret function that'll be completely integral in unlocking the safe. Perfect. I mean, it did break, but that's okay though, because this is actually supposed to be a decoy. And the reason is because we're going to be electrifying it using this. Now, I can't show you exactly how I'm doing this, but essentially, we're taking this shock toy and putting conductive tape on each side of the handle so that when it's touched, you'll get shocked. So not only is this going to act as a decoy to mess with the burglar or whoever tries to break in, but it's also going to be the final piece of the puzzle you're gonna have to reinsert into the safe to get it to unlock, which means we need to find a way to activate and deactivate the shocking capabilities. And for that, we're gonna use a magnet from the outside of the vault to disengage the circuit. That way we can safely rotate the handle. I'm almost done building up the interior of the door, which essentially looks like a mess of wires. I think I'm just gonna have to seal this in with like some Lego glass pieces. But as you can see, we have all of our parts kind of in place. We got the Arduino bit up here. And then on the front, everything should be working properly. So this thing is almost ready. I just have to finish up the last few layers at the top here. And then we can finally put the capper on this thing and test it out after a few weeks of designing. This has been a crazy project so far. I really hope it works. Okay, put this thing right on here. All right, so theoretically it's on. Ah, okay, it works. Oh my gosh, that's like so disconcerting. Ooh. Okay, this works. Essentially how this is working is anywhere that 2 pieces of tape are crossing, basically when you put your across it, it and then from the actually causes it to through your and it shocks you. I might not be able to say any of that now that I'm thinking about it. So after nearly 2.5 weeks of hard work, we had finally finished building the unbreakable Lego vault. But it hadn't quite earned that name yet. On our first real test attempt, our burglar revealed a major weak spot. And this was actually really disappointing news because it meant we had to rebuild the entire door from scratch. But truthfully, I got lazy. I thought I could just reinforce the inner wall so the door couldn't be pushed in without having to rebuild the whole interior. And clearly, that didn't work. No, he just got straight in. Oh, dude, that was the weak point I was worried about. So after redesigning the entire door to better fit the components and to be over 10 studs thick, we have a new 16-pound door. We also had to rebuild the entire interior of the vault because the last version didn't really work. Huge thanks to my wife Hannah for helping with that. So with all that out of the way, before our burglar actually gets here, let me show you how this thing actually works. First, we have to set the 4-digit pin on the keypad, which arms the vault by sliding our deadbolts into place. And now the unbreakable vault is completely locked, which means the only way in is by passing our 4 factors of authentication in order, which technically makes it 5. Because if you start with any of the other mechanisms in the code, even if you complete it correctly, nothing will happen. So here's how you open it. First, we put in the 4-digit pin we just used to arm the vault. And this tells the code that one of our gates has been opened, and to unlock the next mechanism in the code so it can be solved, which is the combination lock. For this, we just need to rotate each of the 3 dials to the correct symbol so the laser beam can make it to the sensor inside. But first, we need to remove the handle, which just happens to be electrified. But if we employ some clever trickery with a magnetic bar on the top of the door, it'll silently disengage the current, allowing us to safely remove the handle and dial in our combination. Then by pressing the hidden button, the laser will be able to hit the sensor, unlocking the 3rd gate, the fingerprint scan, which will send a light signal to our other EV3 sensor inside the door. And that tells the code to unlock the 4th and final gate. And this one is a bit sneaky, because we have to reinsert the handle and turn it 360 degrees to finally get the deadbolts to slide over, unlocking our unbreakable Lego vault. So as you can see, it actually works. When we close this, the only person who can get into it is me, which means this is it, guys. This is the final moment where we get to test this thing out and see if it's actually an unbreakable Lego vault. I'm really nervous. Poured a lot of engineering, a lot of thinking into this, so I'm hoping our burglar won't be able to get into it. But he's on his way pretty soon, so let's arm this guy, lock it down, and turn on our electrified handle. All right, guys, this is it. I don't really know what's about to go down. I'm giving him 10 minutes to break into this because after that 10 minutes, the alarms are gonna go off and the police are gonna arrive. This is so nerve-wracking. Wow, he kicked out that vent. And as you can see, our burglar is the perfect demonstration of beauty and grace. And he's in. Here we go. It was also great to see right off the bat the electric handle was working, which also triggers the silent alarms. And this is truly one of the proudest clips I got, because not only does our burglar test the vault with his full weight, but after removing the intricately built shocking handle, oh, that's nice. He also does this. Oh my gosh. Dude, he is going for the door. He didn't even, I love how he didn't even try to like crack it. There is a password and you can actually get into this. And at this point, I think he figured out brute force wasn't gonna do it for him, so he started searching for a weak spot. And with the authorities still almost 9 minutes away, I was really hoping he wouldn't find one. It's been a minute. And you can see here, he just tore off the first layer of tiles on top, which if I engineered everything correctly, should be fine because it's all locked together with Technic beams from the inside. Or at least it would have been if he hadn't snapped them in half. And at this point, I was thinking we were still in the clear because there's at least 5 or 6 interlocked layers in between our burglar and Mr. Gold. There's no way. It's layers and layers thick. So he is breaking it, but he's not able to make it into the trapped core box. Obviously with this thing, it's like with power tools, you're just like instant in. You take a little angle grinder in there and you can just cut through the deadbolts to get what's in there, which is, for all he knows, like a half-eaten bag of raisins, so. And after watching him struggle for a few more minutes, I might have gotten a little cocky. I think I'm gonna scroll Instagram for a minute. And then he started making some progress. He's using like a pry tool. At this point, I didn't have access to the interior camera due to technical issues. So while I was doing this, dude, ain't no way, bro. You're not getting into this thing. The interior of the vault was slowly crumbling. I think like as it is, if the authorities have 10 minutes to get there, he's already triggered the alarm. Like, this thing's going to stop him before they can get here. And at this point, I genuinely believed we were gonna pull through. Until I saw this. I'm pretty positive he got shot. Does he have his arm in there? What? No. No. He made it through the hole. No! I was so confident. Oh my gosh, dude. With 2 minutes and 45 seconds. Oh, at least he pulled the rope up. Oh, dang. Oh. Well, he was kind enough to bring it back. Thanks, man. I'll pay you later, because I need to keep this. In the end, even though our burglar was able to break through by snapping some of the Technic pieces, I'm not gonna call this a failure. I'm surprised he didn't go through the door at all, like the part we really re-certified. Because while focusing on your failures can be enticing, I'd rather focus on the victories. I designed one of the most advanced LEGO security mechanisms in the world. And moreover, I built it using 10,000 little plastic bricks. Plus, you never know. There's always room for improvement in the next version.